Hello, and welcome to this multimedia presentation on the subject of intelligence. We will be considering what we mean by the word intelligence and how it is to be measured. A lot of the material contained inside the screencast has been sourced from Linda Gottfredson, an American academic. Intelligence is a much talked about topic. It's a thing to be admired and envied. To tell someone they are deficient in it is a grievous insult. But there's still a lot of debate about what exactly intelligence consists of. A modern theory proposed by John Carroll in 1993 has it that intelligence is made up of three different types: general intelligence, broad ability, which are things like memory, visual, spatial, processing speeds, etc. John has 8 broad abilities. And general intelligence combined with broad ability produces narrow ability. These are the skills brought out of general and broad intelligence. John recognizes about 70 of these different types of skill. But on the subject of measurement itself, we have this man to thank, Alfred Binet, a French psychologist who was commissioned by the Ministry of Education to try and identify young students who are in danger of failing in their elementary school. His solution was a series of 30 objective questions. It was held to be a big success. It spawned a whole industry, which is still going strong, the IQ test industry. IQ tests seek to evaluate reasoning, vocabulary and comprehension. And there are a whole range of different types of tests out there. The original test is called the Stanford Binet test, after Alfred Binet and Stanford University, which helped develop it. But there are plenty of others. Kaufman Assessment Battery for Children, the Woodcock-Johnson test of cognitive ability. They all produce a score, and this score has been used as a predictor of educational achievement, to determine special needs, to evaluate potential performance in a job, and even calculate eventual income. But there are problems with IQ tests. The IQ test itself seeks to award a mark, and it has been set up such that the average mark is always at 100. The bell curve is the distribution of marks across the whole of the population. It's expected that only some 2% of the population will score over 131. It's interesting to note that the difference between two strangers is normally about 17 points, and the typical difference between two siblings is only 12 points. There are a number of issues around the IQ test, what it measures, what it's good for. Nature versus nurture is a common ongoing debate. Can something be developed through life, or is it set inside your genes? The truth is almost certainly a bit of both. Evidence suggests that in the early years environment is the biggest factor, but research involving identical twins separated at birth suggests that the IQ we end up with is genetically determined. Everybody ends up in the same place. But there are other ways of considering intelligence. For instance, in a theory developed by Catterall and Horn in the 1960s, intelligence was divided into two broad categories, fluid and crystalline. Fluid intelligence is the quickly learnt, original thinking. It's intuitive and peaks in young adulthood, after which it falls away. Most Nobel Prize winners do their best work in their early years. Crystalline intelligence is a habitual wisdom of the years. It's something which has been practiced and learnt, and continues to rise through adulthood before finally falling away inside old age. Can intelligence be increased? There are other ways of improving it. Well, if you take the IQ test as being a valid measure, there are a number of techniques which people use. Drugs, we're aware that coffee keeps you awake. It is said that 25% of US undergraduate students use one of the 5 drugs mentioned inside this list. Brain foods are also popular, fish with their omega oils, etc. However, there is no good scientific proof of this. Meditation has shown to reduce stress and therefore improve memory. And Linda Gottfredson says just simplifying your life is a good way. We're all familiar with the overload of emails and text messages which we seem to have to wade through, which are completely unnecessary. These distract, cause stress, reduce attention span, cause memory problems. the most effective, the scientifically proven most effective way of improving your mind is cardiovascular exercise. It would seem that the cliche, healthy body, healthy mind, does have some truth in it. But as I said, there are issues with IQ, and one of them which calls into question the whole basis of the IQ test is called the Flynn effect, named after the scientist which has best researched it. It would seem that since the introduction of widespread IQ testing, we've all been getting a lot cleverer. If the average person in 1978 took the average IQ test along with a load of people that were of average intelligence in 1932, it would appear that they are 14 points ahead of them on the scale. If you extrapolated this graph back through time, it would appear that the ancient Egyptians would have been a remarkably stupid bunch of people, which they evidently were not. Therefore, what's happening? Are we getting better at tests? Improved public health has genuinely improved our intelligence? Or perhaps IQ tests are just not as objective as they think they are. So what do we really know? Well, we're not too sure what intelligence is, and that makes it a rather difficult thing to measure. We think it has different aspects, and we've developed tests that will allow comparisons to be made for individuals with regards to these different aspects, but we're unsure how objective these tests are. They are liable to cultural bias. They could possibly be using out-of-date or irrelevant language. The time of day at which the IQ test is taken, or the time of year at which it's taken, surely affects its outcome. So therefore, IQ tests are perhaps to be taken with a pinch of salt. This ends this screencast. Thank you for listening.